We are pleased to welcome onto the 966 Her Royal Highness Princess Dr. Haya Bint Khaled Bint Bandar Al Saud, Vice President of Organizational Strategy and Development at the Hevolution Foundation. In the past, Dr. Haya, you've worn many hats. You've been with CAST, the King Abdulaziz City for Science and Technology, the Saudi Food and Drug Administration, the National Biotech Strategy Advisory Committee, and more. Thank you so much for joining us on the 966.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you.
It's our pleasure.
Truly, you're very kind. This is the end of the second day of this event, and we asked you if you're exhausted, and not surprisingly, you said no, you're energized.
Yes.
Which I guess is a reflection on the event.
Of course, of course.
And so, as Lucien said, extraordinary background, extraordinarily well equipped for what you're doing now. With this, Hevolution Foundation Global Healthspan Summit as sort of the nexus, can you talk about what you've done to get to this point? And you've been there from the beginning, the very beginning.
So thank you so much for this interview. I think I'm just going to be very simple about how I feel today. I think it's a moment of pride for me specifically, and for the whole team. For me, it's been a 4-year journey. So I've been in Hevolution for 4 years. My anniversary was in November, early November.
Mabruk.
Thank
Happy
you.
anniversary.
From the first day that I was actually recruited, I was attached to the mission. And the reason why I was attached to the mission is because we're really trying to extend healthy lifespan for all humanity. And one more layer is it's actually happening from Riyadh. This beautiful feeling that we're doing all the hard work, trying to solve one of the biggest challenges that you see across the globe, which is the increase of age-related diseases, is such an amazing mission. And that's number one. Number two is since my 4-year journey started 4 years ago, I also saw the beauty in this journey, because I was recruited when it was just an idea and it was a concept that just started. I was a #1 employee in Hevolution Foundation. I remember my first day working when I saw how big this mission is and the impact. I was like, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to do it alone. Because I was working as the project lead at that time. Obviously, I had support from different team members that were actually really supporting me at that time. But we started thinking of the concept and started detailing the concept at that time until Mahmoud joined. And when Dr. Mahmoud joined, this is when a lot of the magic started happening. We really started thinking of our strategy, how do we impact the world, and how do we really build this properly. What's also some nice stories of the past is when we it was COVID at that time, when I first met Mahmoud. And when he joined, he arrived in October 2020. And it was the first time that I meet him face to face. I've been working with him for a while. But then I told him, sorry, Mahmoud, we'll need to share an office for at least a couple of months.
And that's when the magic happened.
And this is when the magic happened. So it was a beautiful journey with him. I remember, at the beginning, we were really thinking of how to start and when to start and where to start. But I think, as you mentioned, the success of Hevolution is because we always drive for focus. We, when we ramped up our activities, we tried to focus on certain focus groups. So at the beginning, we focused on scientists. Then we started, expanding our focus areas slowly, and we're still expanding. There's more and more to come in the future. But I think proper planning, focusing on these plans, and obviously you need to divert a bit. Sometimes you're met with obstacles and you need to move on. So I always tell my team, the way to succeed is to focus and get rid of the noise. And that's what actually made us succeed. Obviously it's normal. I mean, when you build an organization, when you incubate, you're normally met with challenges, but you just need to get rid of these challenges and just keep focusing and moving forward. And this is why today I think we're all celebrating our success. It's 4 years of hard work, so it didn't happen overnight. We really wanted to celebrate what we achieved and celebrate the future. We wanted to really explain the concept of Hevolution to the world. And just a funny story, which is a personal story, my family actually attended yesterday some of the sessions. And because all of us, me, Dr. Mahmoud, the whole team, we work day and night because we believe in the mission. And my family used to complain. They're like, oh, you work a lot. But when they came yesterday, they were like, now we know. Now we see. And actually, one of my sisters said, do you have any openings in Hevolution? So that was a funny story. But yeah, today is a day for celebration and a dream come true.
So building an organization is already its own enormous challenge.
Yeah.
Building an organization in a fairly new space as an investor, an impact investor, can you talk a little bit about the catalyzing basically a new industry or an industry that has been sort of all over the place, and your role for Hevolution as really the jump starter for this?
When we started our plans was really focused on how do we gradually ramp up. Obviously, we identified our focus area, our focus groups. So it was very clear to us that we want to start focusing on science, then slowly moving into investments, then slowly moving into medicine, and slowly moving into our intramural program. So it's a very well-studied plan. There's no way that you can do everything together at the same time. So at the beginning, we're really trying to focus on how we actually start working with scientists, because we truly believe we're a scientific organization and we're really trying to understand the underlying biology of aging. And without the buy-in and without the collaboration with scientists, then we can't actually move forward. What's difficult and the difficult task that's actually happening, or that we want to achieve, is how do we try to, one, develop breakthroughs in aging biology. Two, how do we make sure that we develop talent and attract more scientists into the field? And three, how do we indirectly impact policy and regulations? The reason why I'm saying indirect is because we are a nonprofit organization, so we influence. First, I think it's not really straightforward, but there are centers of excellence that focus on aging. However, we want to bring we want to use a multidisciplinary approach because we truly believe in order to innovate and develop breakthroughs, you need to pull in scientists and different individuals that focus on different focus areas. Talent development is also something maybe not straightforward, but a bit important and might be a bit challenging. The reason why is people don't realize that in multiple sectors or multiple focus areas in biology, they're actually studying aging. I'll give you an example like cancer, diabetes. They're all pathways of aging. And we're trying to pull these scientists into the field and telling them that, you know what, you actually focus on aging science.
Yes.
So that's one focus area in terms of talent. The second is how do we attract young individuals to start their career in aging science. And as Dr. Mahmoud mentioned today and actually announced, we have one of the biggest postdoctoral programs in aging that will help Saudis to actually build their capabilities in aging science. Investments led by Dr. Bill Green is now also ramping up. We're actually hopefully in the end of this year announce a couple of investments. As you see, and you've been here for the past 2 days, Dr. Sofia Patai has developed a pop-up clinic, which is a concept that is very dear to our hearts, and we really think of what the future of medicine and aging will look like. And the intramural program, which is currently, we just started thinking of it. But as you mentioned, our success is really having proper planning, focusing on one step at a time, and trying to be a bit flexible. When we are met with difficulties, we can divert a bit, but really still go back into focusing on our mission.
It's been really interesting watching this, the range of areas that you have targeted as important to the bigger picture.
Yeah.
And one of the things that is clear when we speak with you, and is something, a term that Dr. Khan has mentioned, is operationalize. And it seems to sort of run through everything you do. So taking this event, which understandably you're very proud about, but my guess is you see it as a tool.
Of course.
And how will this event help you operationalize everything you're trying to do from here forward?
The way I see it, today is the beginning. And you mentioned it a couple of minutes ago.
It's the end of the beginning.
Of course. In order to start somewhere, this event is our chance to explain to the world two things. One, how important aging and understanding health span is. And second is how do we actually ensure that we convene and we get the help of others and work with others to move the field forward. And this is our strategy and this is our approach. And we keep saying, and you can see, I mean, if you see anyone from Hevolution speaking, that's the first thing we say is convene. But as you know, I'm a scientist, and I think a lot of people here know that there's a lot to be done. This is only the beginning. In terms of the beginning of really doing it right. And it's not, I mean, the fragmentation, you don't only see it in aging science, it's in science as a whole. I think it's speaking to scientists today and seeing that they want to work with biotech investors, that's brilliant. Seeing policymakers wanting to work with scientists is brilliant. And I think this is the beginning. We're still not there yet.
It is interesting. I mean, you have your PhD in genomics. You were former head of the Saudi Human Genome Project. This is your wheelhouse. Are you seeing the science? So you're trying to plug in to really promote the science. Are you seeing the science at a really interesting, maybe launch point?
Of course. I mean, in terms of aging science, you mean?
Yes, aging science,
yes, of course. I mean, basic science has really developed in the past couple of years. I'm not saying that we're there yet in terms of basic science, but definitely there's a lot of good quality science that can be translated into human applications. And Hevolution is working on two streams. How do we move basic science forward, and how do you translate the science into human applications? Obviously, both of them are important. Obviously, we're scientists, they take time. But with Hevolution and with the contribution of people that have been in this field for centuries, we can move the field forward.
I think something impresses both Lucien and myself, and I think it's important to note. Dr. Austad mentioned it this morning in the arena. I call it the arena because
yes, looks like arena.
It's a great place. It's a wonderful place to have a conference and have people speak. But he was talking about the emphasis on democratizing. This is not for the rich, and this is not just for Saudis. Can you? I mean, it seems like the impetus here is a global thing. And that had to begin at the start, correct?
Of course.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
From the start.
Yeah.
Aging impacts, or aging-related diseases impacts every human. When you see different scientists or different fields, usually they focus on certain geographies because they're targeting an unmet need in that geography. Aging doesn't have a country. It's not focusing on a developed versus developing country. It doesn't focus on anything. It focuses on all. I mean, I can give examples. I know I was giving examples of how important this topic is to me, and how it's impacting my life and impacting my family's life, and then everyone is relating.
Yes.
So everybody's like, oh yeah, you know what? Same thing here. So all of us share the same challenges with age and age-related diseases. So what I see is that the impact that Hevolution has, and because it targets all humanity and touches all humanity, so that's key. Obviously, our strategic objectives is one, how do you develop drugs that can help in expanding health span? Second, how do you accelerate drug development? And third, how do we provide anything that we develop in Hevolution to all? So we're definitely not targeting a certain group. It's embedded in our DNA and in our strategy. And the only way you can impact the world is by democratizing the science and the outputs of the science.
I'm sure you're looking forward. I hope you take a moment to enjoy. And it may not be a question you can answer, what do you see as your biggest challenge going forward, the Hevolution Foundation?
I think the biggest challenge that we might face is really focusing on multiple geographies. I mean, we're doing very well now. We started working in Boston, and I think that's in the US, and we're targeting the US. We'll be working in somewhere in Europe and in Asia. As you know, each geography or each geographical region has their own challenges. Yes. And for you to impact all geographies, you will really need to know the challenges and the opportunities there. And I think maybe that would be the biggest challenge. But other than that, I think we're able to do it. I mean, if you're focusing and you believe in the mission and you ensure that you convene and you create coalitions and you bring people together, I think we're able to deliver our mission 100%.
There's something so exciting about this because we all age. We just discussed that. But there's also an economic upside here. Some of these investments can really save a lot of money down the road. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about that and how Hevolution plans to sort of get everything going with that?
Sure. The economic impact that we see from aging is huge. There's an economic burden on health expenditure. So due to high health expenditure, there's an economic burden. There's also an economic shift. So a lot of young people are getting sick, and there's not enough old people that can work, so that's causing also an economic shift. So we're working extensively to try to address these matters. They're very difficult because they're societal, and it requires government, industry, scientists to all get together and try to solve for this. What you mentioned in terms of investments, yes, for sure. I mean, we're working extensively towards early stage investments that take time, but the impact is huge and impact is big. Obviously, we really choose our investments very carefully because our investments are really focusing on the biology of aging. You know, a funny story, when I first started working in aging and aging science, no one really understood what I was trying to achieve. I mean, everybody was thinking, when you say aging, everybody thinks, how do I extend life expectancy? And I mentioned yesterday in the panel, everybody was asking, they were asking, how do you impact the general public? I think before impacting the general public, they really need to understand what accelerated aging means and what not only Hevolution, what we're trying to achieve here. So it always starts with awareness, not only awareness to the general public, awareness to scientists, investors, and so on. We really need to bring people into this field and introduce them to how important addressing accelerated aging and the increase of age and age-related diseases is.
We ran into you around the event, I think it was 2 days ago, and we were just chatting. We wanted to ask you and share the story because you mentioned to us you were born in the United States, which is really interesting. Can you tell us about that?
True. I was born in Kentucky, in a small town that was called Elizabethtown.
We guessed it right out of the
I know. I was born in a small town. It was called Elizabethtown, and I was there because my dad was studying and training in Kentucky. So so it was a big part of my dad's life, my mom's life, and obviously my life. I was very young at that time, but I moved back to Saudi when I was young. But I actually visited Kentucky. I wanted to know where I was born. So I did, and I visited E-Town.
Well, what did you think?
It was brilliant.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Oh, no, of course it was small town.
Yeah.
But it was beautiful. I mean, a beautiful town. So, my parents spent a couple of years there.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yes.
Her Royal Highness Princess Dr. Haya Bint Khaled Bint Bandar Al Saud. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much.
This was a pleasure.
Thank you so much for coming.